Bless you. Thank you so much.
All right. Well, it's good to be here with y'all this morning. The Lord is good, and we're getting ready to actually go down and we have a helps ministry. We have a prison ministry, and we go into a lot of prisons. In Virginia, we have I'm doing the math in my brain, I stayed with 65 services this coming year, just in Virginia alone. We have a prison in Georgia. We actually got cleared for the whole state of Georgia, so we're working on the prison revival down there. So we're excited about that. You know, people excited when they get out of prison. I'm excited when I get to go to prison. You know, but I'll tell everybody, when I look at you, I'm picturing orange suits on, and you know, I seen another suit the other day. Was in one prison. The guy had a black suit on. And I learned that was a very important outfit because that's the cook. You know, we had the cook that had the black on. And we already heard about some, I don't know about that fried kangaroo, but I like the fried chicken. But they do say everything tastes like chicken, but I don't know about that. But the Lord's been good to us, and we're actually getting ready to go down to North Carolina. One of our supporting churches right in the Asheville area. So we're getting ready to go down and be with them, and got with our pastor. And so we got a big old U-Haul we rented, and we're taking some provisions down there. But I think God's people are the best people. And he's not, some of these people are not sitting around, woe is me. You know, I'm not saying they're not hurt, and I'm not saying they're not going through it. But that's the difference between the world and God's people. When we go through it, we got God right there beside us. And Brother Philip Kirkendall, he's down there in Mount Carmel Baptist Church, one of the supporting churches right there in Hendersonville. And he was up on the stump preaching the other day. He's on a solid rock. I'm thinking, man, that's powerful. You know, you just had the flood come through there and wipe down houses. And the one brother, his songwriter, he lost everything. And I didn't have his number, so he's a friend with me on Facebook. So I sent him a message. I said, brother, my heart's broken for you. I've been praying for you. And he said, God's grace is sufficient. And he said, I thank God for all the prayers. He said, we got a good God. You know, that sounds good when you got a home. Hey, but I'll tell you, it sounds amazing when you don't have a home and you ain't got anything. Hey, I'm talking about nothing. I mean, he's a preacher as well. He lost all of his Bibles. I mean, lost all of his substance. But he walked off that mountain with his two little boys. I think one is 2, and the other's 3. Yeah, 2 and 3 year olds. Lost everything, and just praising God. And I'll tell you, this world is not our home. You know, and we're just passing through. And I really didn't mean to get off on that, but that's just where my heart's at. But God has been really good.
Keep talking, brother.
He's good to our people, and even when things are bad, you know, that's what got me lifted up.
How's that, better?
There you go.
All right.
Got me up there.
That's as high as it goes.
I got one brother, friend of ours. His name is Brother Archie. He's about this tall, and we did a lot of prison work together. And I'd have him come up there and sing, and then I come home and preach, and he's working that mic. I was working them out. They had him down and had to back up, and he'd come back up. And I said, Brother Archie, come singing those songs. They come back up there and adjust it back down. And but they call us Mutt and Jeff. You know, but we have the in the back. You'll find one track there back there in the back. You'll see some sign language on it. One prison was in Savannah, Virginia. It has about 1,200 women in there. And it was always a lady in there that was deaf, and the interpreter room, nowhere preaching, interpreters over, doing the signing. She was never looking at us, and every time we would try to talk to an interpreter, the signer, she would, you just tell it was just like short answers. I mean, you tell them someone don't like you, just short answers. And you know, like when I walk in the house with mud on my feet, I get short answers from my wife. I don't know why, but she had short answers from her. And one night she wasn't there, And so where I usually sit was right in the front until they turn over the service to us. And my wife told her, she said, why don't you sit right there where my husband's at? And because she called, she could read her lips. And she sat right in front of us. And that night was, it was a rough night. We came across a yard, and we had one of our supporters I talked to come with us. And she said, now I'm not going to see any fighting up in here. I said, I never saw one fight. I'm sure they do, but they usually on the best behavior. We come through the back courtyard. What did we see? I mean, it's after fighting like cats and dogs. And she looked at me like, don't get me killed up in this place. And then we worked back to the back where the walked towards the back where the gymnasium was if we had a service. We had about 600 women up in there. And we had another fight break loose. And Miss Lisa, my wife, put your hand up, Miss Lisa. And she told me, she leaned over to me, she said, the back there fight, like I'm going to do something about it. I said, well, I come here to preach the gospel. I ain't coming here to break up no fights. And I said, let's take care of it. So the officers, they moved in and broke up that fight. And I was just thinking, Lord, what are we going to do up in here? God, we need you back. And, the Holy Spirit God says, just brought back in my memory some of the crazy people in our family. I don't know about your family, but I think every family can think of one of those kind of people in their family. And I said, we all got a net up in our family somewhere. And, but they need Jesus, and Jesus just makes a difference. And so we just prayed, asked God to come in there. And it was just amazing how the Lord just showed up that night. Had 6 women came forward, asked the Lord to save them. And while the ladies, I know it sounds kind of different to us, but in the ladies' prison, the women will run this church service and that kind of thing. And the ladies that run the service came up to me and they said, Brother Ricky, we're sorry. We're sorry they act so crazy up in here today. And I said, 6 women came forward and asked the Lord to save them. I said, let them fight. Let them fight. We're in a spiritual warfare. We don't wrestle against flesh and blood. Let the officials take care of that. Let's take care of the spiritual part. And that's God's part. And while they was apologizing, that deaf lady comes up right in between us, our conversation, looks up to me with tears in her eyes and said, I asked the Lord to save me. And she said something. She said, because she can't hear, she said, the Lord spoke to my heart. And so we got a track out there, and you hear God in sign language, and it speaks about speaking to the heart, not through the ear ports. Right. And that's kind of God be God. He don't forget about anybody and any kind of storms, And I thought about, the devastation you hear and you see on the news right down the Carolinas and Tennessee, Georgia, and Florida, and even in parts of Virginia, the southern tips of it, and you see all the devastation. But I also seen this. People made this comment all across the country. The first people was on the scene was God's people. And I tell you, what a testimony for the Lord. And God's going to get the honor and glory out of that. People can say, what, it's because of sin. But maybe somebody prayed a revival. And maybe God had to send a flood to get a revival. You said, will He do that? We're going to see what God did one time, and it seems like it was kind of extreme, but that's God's ways are not our ways. Right. His thoughts are not our thoughts. Right. And that's the kind of God we got.